Hello and welcome to Maths with Jacob. This lesson will focus on average of fractions worksheets. Now this video gives us a few slides where we have worksheets and we get some practice at finding the average of a set of fractions. Now the process is exactly the same as finding the average of a set of whole numbers. We just follow the same steps. Now, with respect to these worksheets here, if you don't remember what to do, at the end of this video, there is a link on the last slide, and if you click on that link, it will take you to the lesson and it explains exactly what to do for all these examples. Now, very quickly, if you remember, the average of a set of numbers is you add the numbers up. Doesn't matter whether they're fractions or whole numbers. Add them up, and in this particular case, divide by 3 because there are 3 numbers. So that's all you do. Now, with respect to adding fractions up, if you remember, before we can add fractions up, we have to make all the denominators the same. How do we do that? Well, we find what we call the lowest common multiple. Now the lowest common multiple of 2, 3 and 6 is the lowest number that 2, 3 and 6 will divide into. When we find that, that will be our common denominator. Now just for this example, the lowest number that 2, 3 and 6 will divide into is 12. So that's enough hints, but if you need any more clues, just click on the lesson on the last slide and it'll explain how to do everything. But that's a pretty good start for you. So those 10 are basically very straightforward and you do them all in a similar manner. Let's look at the next slide. Over here, the only difference is we have 4 fractions for each example. But the process is the same. Now, notice the slight difference here. Here, we have a mixed fraction. So how do we do that? Quite straightforward. Change it to an improper fraction. So 4 ones are 4, plus 1 is 5. So that gives us 5 over 4. Okay? So that gives us a 2, a 3 and a 6 and a 4 for the denominators. Remember, you have to find the lowest common multiple of those 4 numbers. Okay? And that will be our common denominator, and that will enable you to add those 4 fractions up. It's exactly the same for these examples. Remember, finally, if you're not sure or if you're having difficulties, click on the link on the next slide and it will take you to the lesson explaining exactly what you need to do. So this video has produced or introduced just a couple of slides which has given us a few worksheets to practice finding the average of a set of fractions. And the principle is exactly the same as finding the average for whole numbers. It's the total number of scores, so you add them all up. Okay? You add the total, that's the sum, and then you divide by however many scores there are. For this example, add those 4 up and divide by 4. Add those 4 up and divide by 4, etc.